The history of science has a rich background in the Italian Renaissance. Galileo Galilei was an important figure during that historical time. He was a philosopher, a physicist, an engineer, an astronomer, and a mathematician. During this period, he developed a series of experiments to explain some of the laws of motion. The important thing that Galileo did was transition from natural philosophy, where they used an experimental notional idea of the causes of physics, to mathematical rules that described those actions. So his important contribution was that mathematical equation that described the laws of motion. To do this, there is this mythical story that he dropped balls of different weights from the Tower of Pisa. We know this probably didn't happen, but it remains an excellent introduction to his experimental work with the laws of motion. In truth, he used an inclined plane that slowed the action of the balls down so that he could time the balls as they fell. After more than 100 iterations, he was able to accurately determine that the spaces traversed were to each other as the squares of the times. Galileo's contribution was to shift from the hypothetical understanding of physics based on experimentation to a set of mathematical laws based on experimentation. So while he didn't invent experimentation, nor did he invent any new math, his ability to perform repeated experiments and tie the math concepts to those experiments to describe the natural world was what makes him the founder of modern mathematical physics. As Newton might have said, he stood on the shoulders of giants to peer deeper into our natural universe. This 1/10 scale model of the Leaning Tower of Pisa is a science lesson in itself. The Archimedes screw that we use to lift the two balls up over 15 feet into the air was developed by Archimedes, who is a 3rd century BC polymath. He certainly was aware of the idea of experimentation and used that to develop his Archimedes screw, as well as the field of hydrostatics. The ball dropping experiment itself is very representative of Galileo's study of motion and his experimentation that led to mathematical rules describing that motion. Finally, the modern sensors that we're using to drive this automated process and measure the fall time of these balls really wraps the scientific effort around to the modern era. This Leaning Tower of Pisa ball dropping experiment is really an amalgamation of the history of science covering millennia in this one display here.